Proofs that are not valid. A very common error when trying to solve algebra equations happens when division occurs, or when adding or subtracting. Another key error to look for is if the first line of the proof contains an error. If the first line contains an error, then every statement based on the first will also be false. So let's look at this example right here. We have 4 times a plus b minus c equals 3 times a plus b minus c. So how do we solve this? Well, first of all, I divided by a plus b minus c, canceled those things out. My conclusion was I'm left with 4 and 3, so 4 equals 3. Done. That doesn't look right. The error occurs when dividing by a plus b minus c. If a plus b minus c is equal to 0, so inside the brackets here, if that whole thing is equal to 0, then we have a problem, because mathematically dividing by 0 creates problems. Usually we say it's undefined or it's infinite. In this case, the proof concludes that 4 equals 3, which we know to be false. So we must look through the proof to spot the error. So we look back through the proof. This is going to be a very short video. We look back through the proof. Basically, dividing by 0 is one of the main points that could be invalid. It's one of the easiest ones to spot, that a plus b minus c must be 0. Because if I was to get rid of everything that we had at the beginning, which I can't erase, but if I was to get rid of everything, get rid of all this stuff and all this stuff, and I would look at this 4 times a plus b minus c, I can see that the a plus b minus c in brackets are the same. And the only way for this to be the same at the very beginning would be if a plus b minus c was equal to 0. Because if I multiply 4 by 0, that's 0. 3 times 0 is 0. Therefore, 0 is equal to 0. That's fine. But if a, b, and c, which must be different values, or they should be, if they're anything else like 1, 4 times 1 is 4. 3 times 1 is 3. Nope, that doesn't work. Any other value doesn't work. So they must be equal to 0. This whole thing must be equal to 0. You might also run into problems if you're going through a proof and you're taking the square root and you find out you're taking the square root of a negative number. Those are also issues. You can't take square root of a negative number. You end up getting imaginary numbers. Okay? So there's a few mathematical operations that are impossible, or you're not able to do them, and they result in errors. And that's typically when you run into invalid proofs. But dividing by 0 is a big one. So make sure to check for that one. Proofs that are not valid.